Right now we get to our conversation of the day, where today we are talking about affordable housing, and we'll be speaking to Farason Gishovi, who is the CEO of Pacific Projects Limited. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Today.
Thank you too.
All right, now we've started the year. We are in January. We are planning how the year is going to look. People are making their resolutions. When you look at the real estate sector, especially in 2023, the year that just ended, what are some of the trends that pushed forward this particular sector?
Thank you very much, Bwana Nyakundi, for hosting me. My name is Farason Gishovi. I think the real estate trends have changed over the time. 2023, there's a lot of changes. That is in sustainability in the real estate industry, affordability, and then also trends on the design aspect of the houses, where people went further from going for what we call the green concept, going for concepts that are affordable in the market, looking at the technology that is shaping most of the construction site. So we have a lot of changes that have happened because people have always done construction or real estate using the old methods. So there's a lot of dynamics that have changed in the real estate industry. Yeah.
And I believe also, when you look at the changes that you've mentioned, the economy also is contributing to this.
Yeah.
And even as the year was ending, now we are starting a new year where the economy is and the type of investments people are making. When you look at the real estate sector, are people now gravitating towards building homes, or are people gravitating towards buying land?
I would say it is a situation that has been affected, not necessarily from 2023, I think from 2022.
Yes.
Where we had a lot of increase in, I would say, cost of construction materials, which also affected the cost of land, because they're going hand in hand. So I've seen there was a lot of slowness at the beginning of last year, but then things started picking up when things started going up. Because when it started at the end of 2022, the cost of steel bar had gone very high, but then it came down. Then towards the end of 2023, also we had a challenge of the exchange rate for the dollar, because most of the construction materials are imported, so they affect the overall cost of the construction materials. Then on the purchase of the land, I can say people are buying land. They are buying more and more land. The only challenge is they need infrastructure for them to access those properties and build. So there are those aspects of construction that have been affected negatively, and some have been affected positively. Like, I'll give a case scenario. People in diaspora, since the rate of the dollar has gone high, they are investing in land more because of the purchasing power. But the people around in our country, they were hit by the changes in the economy. So it's a situation that is shaky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get to the people in the diaspora.
Yeah.
Let us look at people in Kenya, and someone comes to you and says, okay, I want to venture into building a house. I want to get land. I want to start my own construction. What goes into this, and how do you help such a person?
Yeah, what we do in our company, we provide what we call one-stop services for customers. Most of the customers that come to us, I would say like 80 to 90%, they own land. So the first process that we do is what we call a site visit to the property. We view the property to ascertain a few factors, because you might have bought land which is on cotton soil. You might have bought land which is on a red soil. You might have bought land which is on a swamp. So first of all, we ascertain the conditions of the land. Then we come to the design aspect. Design aspect is guided by your budget. We need to understand what kind of a budget you have for you to construct the house. Once we understand your budget, now we put it on paper. We get your preferences and aspirations for the house. Let's say you're doing a masonite. So we'd want to do, because there are very many trends in masonite. There is a normal masonite with a pitched roof, and then there's a masonite that you can do with what you call a flat roof. Once we get those details, we put them on paper, we draw. The other thing is we ensure also we give you the costing. That is whereby the quantity surveyor comes in to do the bill of quantities. Once we do the bill of quantities and we agree, let's say we are working with a budget of like 5 million, we also need to take those drawings and design to the county government for the approval, because it's also very important to have them approved. Different counties have different timelines for approval. And I can tell you, like, the only problem we have is in Nairobi County. And I think our governor should do something whereby we have a lot of bureaucracy, and the process is so long, it takes a lot of time before you get your approval done. Once you do the approval, there are some customers who come to us, they want to take what we call construction mortgage from the banks. So there's a process that also goes to the bank before they release the money, because they need to understand your credit viability, how much they are going to advance you, because you can be given either 90%, 80% or 70% of the construction. For the financed project, the finances are released in phases. That is, you get as you progress. Then we have customers who go to SACCOs to get the finance, and then we have the batch of customers who go for the model of like what we call cash builders. People have already saved the money, so they want to start now constructing. The other aspect is whereby we have people who go to with the concept of the Jenga Po Po concept, whereby you can do your project with a longer time, with the stoppage period. That is, let's say if I'm doing a maisonette, I can do a maisonette within 7 to 8 months. But then there's a client who would want to do it in phases. They want to do it with a timeline of 2 to 3 years. That's why now we have those different kind of construction phases.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's stick to the Jenga Po Po, because I know most people who are watching would want to get into this, because Jenga Po Po. So how is it spread out, especially when it comes to the payment plans? What goes into Jenga Po Po?
Basically, Jenga Po Po is a concept whereby we go with the pace of the client. Let's say you want to do a project that will, you want to accumulate your finances within a period of like 3 years. Instead of waiting to save the amount and then start the construction, because as I've told you earlier, the cost of construction keeps on fluctuating.
Yes. So
we encourage people to start with the little they have. So what we do when we are doing the quantities and the bill of quantities, we structure it with like phases. The first phase basically is the foundation work. So we can agree we do the foundation work, let's say with 300,000, then we stop, we take a break. The client will go and look for money again for like maybe after 3 to 4 months, we come and do the skeleton. It is very important we do the skeleton, you complete the skeleton. The other phase, we do the roofing. Then we go to the phases of doing metal works, windows and doors. Then we go to another phase of doing the plaster work. And then the last phase will come as the finishes phase. So we structure the Jenga Po Po in phases to allow the customer to look for money as we progress. The only disadvantage is the longer the period of construction, the more expensive it becomes.
Yeah. Okay, so do you allow, for example, you've mentioned some months, 4 months, you've mentioned also 3 years before. So how long can it be? Is it 5 years? Can it be even 10 years or 3 years?
Usually we advise a maximum of 2 years.
2 years?
Yes, because of the cost of construction materials and also the changes in the economy. So we advise 2 years. The percentage change in percentage is between 5 to 20%. But then if you extend it to 5 years, 10 years, it can even double. Yeah.
All right. All right. Thank you for that. And now let's go to the diaspora now. You had mentioned people in diaspora who would want to buy land and also construct back home, but they don't have the luxury of coming and physically and doing it by themselves. So how do you help a person who is in that diaspora and they'd want to own a home in Kenya?
In my company, I can say that we have a lot of diaspora guys. Like 40% of my business are diaspora people, whereby we take them through the processes through virtually, because most of them, they are not able to come to see the ground and to see those things. So what we do, usually there is a contact person that they have within the country will take us to do the site visit. Once we do the site visit, these are the things we can do them virtually, because we can share. That is through the internet. We can use the emails and everything, and then we give them the budget. So we use the same process, whereby we don't ask for lump sum to construct a house, because you need to also protect the interest of the client. So what we do, we give a client a very well stipulated payment schedule, whereby they pay per phase. So what we usually do, we have a percentage that we ask upfront. Then once the work is done, we get the balance, then we go to the next step. So for diaspora people, what we do, we share live videos of what is going to their site. And then also we encourage them to have a physical inspection by either a friend or a consultant. Mostly we encourage people to use consultants because in construction industry you need to have somebody who has the knowledge of what is going on the site. So we're able to get the diaspora clients within the system. What usually also happens, we have a system whereby we update our customers every day what is happening on the site every day. So they're able to see the progress of work, and then also they're able to be in touch with whatever is happening at the site.
All right. And by the end of the day, do you usually have, what are some of the challenges, especially when it it comes to managing such kinds of can I call them business?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, getting to connect with someone who is in the diaspora and also here, even virtually, when you look at some of the challenges, what do you usually encounter, and how are you able to seal those gaps?
One of the things that I can say is the biggest challenge in construction and you're working with the diaspora people is the expectation that the client will have. So what we usually do before we start a project, we take through the client through the processes so that at least they can be able to understand, because the kind of quality of work that is done within the country and the quality of work that's done outside there, sometimes there is a lot of discrepancies. So we make sure that the customer understands before we start the construction. The other challenges that we get is now when it comes to things like what we call statutory documentation for the client, because there are some processes that will demand the client either to be there physically, let's say signing of the contract. There are some legal aspects that will also demand the client to be there physically. We have also had challenges whereby a client will tell you his or her plot was at this point, but then again it was shown the other point. So you start constructing on a plot A, whereas you're supposed to construct on point B. So those are some of the challenges that we face, but I can say that they are very minimal once you make the client understand from the initial stages. But then if they don't understand from the initial stages, now that's where now the complication will come in.
All right. Now let's move on to another issue. When you look at the real estate sector and the business that you do, the land conveyance, how do you go about it?
For land, the land process is also one of the major things to do before you construct. First of all, you need to make sure your paperwork is right. Because I'll give you an example. When you're going to do for the approvals, you cannot do approvals on a land that does not have all the paperwork. So what the county government will require is a copy of the title, the copy of the ID. They require the physical map for that property. You attach them so that when they're doing approval for a property that is accessible and a property that has all the documentation. So when somebody is buying land, they need to involve a legal practitioner, that is a lawyer, so that they can be able to process all those things. Currently, we have very professional firms who are selling land, and they take you all those processes, and it's very seamless. The only challenge we have is whereby now a client buys land from now what we call the Kijiji style, whereby people buy using allotment letters, share certificates, and everything. That's where you get the complication. But there's some properties like allotment, whereby if you buy land with an allotment letter, you can swear an affidavit through a lawyer, so that they can ascertain that land belongs to you. So you need to make sure that your paperwork is very, very good, because let's say in a case of like where we had in the river, if you build in a land that you have not done that check and everything, now you end up making a lot of losses if the house is being demolished.
All right. And now in 2024, when you look at this particular sector, what are some of the trends that are going to shape this particular sector going forward in terms of growth, in terms of expansion, when you look at it from where you sit?
One of the things that I've seen is the government is pushing this agenda of affordable housing, which I can say is working on the right direction. But then we have a challenge of whereby most Kenyans, they own land. I can tell you like 90% of Nairobians, they have a plot somewhere. So some of the trends that the government needs to change is to provide an infrastructure so that people can be able to access their land. The other aspect is people are going green. By this I mean due to the frustration that people have gotten through Kenya Power and our service providers, people are going green, they are using solars and everything. So those are some of the trends. And then there's a very big trend of where people are doing, now instead of doing the pitched roof, the normal houses, the pitched roof, people are going for what we call flat roof. Because if you have a smaller compound, if you have a smaller land, you can utilize the upper floor, at least to use for parties and everything. And then also, technology has also been put in most houses, whereby we are having a lot of technology companies coming in to at least to make living space workable, living space look good and everything. So we have those trends that are coming. Then we have also the trend about using the EPS or the precast boards instead of now the traditional way of using stones and sand. So those are some of the trends that I can foresee coming this year in a big way.
Okay, even as we close, your parting shots. And what would you tell someone out there who would want to own a home and would want to even own land in this year?
My parting shot is if you want to own land, follow the due process, work with companies that you have checked their credibility on the process of selling land. Make sure that you check all the paperwork. Involve a professional, that is a lawyer, to check for you and everything. And then once you get the title, make sure you do a search. Continue doing searches, because we have a problem whereby people buy land, they don't do searches. People buy land, they don't pay rates. Because when you buy land, you need to check your title. Is it a freehold title? Is it a leasehold title? Because if it is a leasehold title, you're supposed to be paying land rates and land rent every year. So you find when you're going to do the approvals, we have an accumulated penalized rates. Like we had a case whereby somebody has a land in Katani, they have not paid rates for the last 17 years. So when you go to check the records, you have a very huge bill that you're supposed to clear before you get the approvals. On the process of the construction, I always tell people, once you have an idea of what you want, involve professionals, because also Kenyans avoid involving professionals in construction. Go to professionals who can guide you. That is an architect, an engineer, a QS, a construction manager. Those people can be able to guide you on everything. Then you need also to understand your budget before you start construction, because we have a problem whereby people work with a dream instead of working with the reality. So you say, I want a dream house without checking on the budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Farson Gishovi. Right there, we have to go for a short break. Don't go too far. When we come back, we're going to speak about atmospheric harmful gases and what they contribute to when it comes to climate change. So don't go too far. We'll be back with more.